Dorothea Lange was born in Hoboken, New Jersey on May 26, 1895. When Lange was 7, she contracted polio, which left her right leg and foot noticeably weakened. It was what would later help her guide and instruct her to be the person she became to be. At 10 years old, Dorothea's parents divorced. She grew to blame her father for their separation, which led her to dropping his surname and taking her mother's maiden name, Lange. Dorothea studied photography at Columbia University in New York City under Clarence H. White, a member of the Photo Sessions group. In 1918, Lange decided to travel the world. She would sell her photographs to earn money. Due to running out of money while traveling, Lange found herself in San Francisco. She was soon living in the city and running a successful portrait studio. She then married the famous muralist Maynard Dixon. During the 1920s, Lange, along with her husband Dixon, traveled around the Southwest to shoot documentary-style photography, photographing mostly Native Americans. During the 1930s, when the economic slump of the Great Depression was in full effect, Lange started to capture what she saw in her own neighborhood of San Francisco. One picture that depicted just what was going on was White Angel Breadline, showing the very desperate conditions of unemployed men waiting in line to receive food. These photos were publicly exhibited and received immediate recognition, not only from the public but other photographers as well, especially members of Group F64, an association of California's photographers who promoted a style of sharply detailed purist photography. Lange's most famous portrait, which now hangs in the Library of Congress, Migrant Mother, is of Florence Owens Thomas and her children. Lange was concluding a month's trip of photographing migratory farm labor around the state for what was then the Resettlement Administration. In 1960, Lange gave this account of the experience she had with the migrant mother. I saw and approached the hungry and desperate mother, as if drawn by a migrant. I do not remember how I explained my presence or my camera to her, but I do remember she asked me no questions. I made 5 exposures, working closer and closer from the same direction. I did not ask her name, her history. She told me her age. She was 32. She said that they had been living on frozen vegetables from the surrounding fields and birds that the children killed. She had just sold the tires from her car to buy food. There she sat in a tent with her children huddled around her, and seemed to know that my pictures might help her, so she helped me. There was a sort of equality from it. In 1934, Lange had her first exhibition, and thereafter her reputation as a skilled documentary photographer was firmly established. In the early 1940s, during World War II, California's population shifted, growing by half a million over 5 years. This gave Lange something more to document. She chose to document the very ethnic and mix in Kaiser shipyards, a place where many would find work during the time of World War II. Following the war, Lange was hired by the Office of War Information to photograph the internment of the Japanese Americans. She was again employed by the OWI to document the San Francisco conference that created the United Nations. Many of Lange's documentary photographs borrowed techniques from the lexicon, modernism, dramatic angles, and dynamic composition to produce startling and jarring images of her subjects. They never overpower the subjects themselves, but instead subtly direct the viewer to a fresh appreciation of the individual's plight. Lange's mature work proved that work of art and documents can be combined to produce beautiful, moving, and campaigning images. Her use of innovation techniques also provide the modernist art need, and not only conveying their private feelings of an artist, but also could be put in service of popular journalism. After battling with increasing health problems over the last 2 decades of her life, Lange stayed active, co-founding Aperture, a small publishing house that produces a periodical high-end photography books. Lange then passed away in October 1965 due to esophageal cancer. Some of the most well-known artists of history have come from California. Some like Maynard Dixon in his piece Glory After the Storm. Dixon is the former husband of Dorothea Lange. He is considered by many art collectors to be the premier artist of the West. His ability to capture the land and its inhabitants in a non-judgmental and honest way has left an indelible legacy. Dixon's body of work focused on the American West. Dixon was considered a colorful character with a good sense of humor, which often can be seen in his art pieces. Another is Richard Nitra in the Lavelle House. Nitra's most important early work was the Lavelle House that was in Los Angeles, which has glass expanses and cable-suspended balconies. It is stylistically similar to the work of the Le Corbusier and the Ludwig Miles van der Rohe in Europe. Throughout the 1930s, he designed houses in the international style. Carefully placed in the landscape, Nitra's houses often had patios or porches that often the outdoors seemed part of the house. He believed that the architecture should be a means of bringing man back into harmony with nature and with himself. He was particularly concerned that his houses reflect the way of life of an owner. Another piece, A Bigger Splash, by David Hockney in 1967. This painting by Hockney captures a typical warm, sunny, and cloudless day, which is usually the depiction of Southern California. Hockney was born and raised in England and was lured during the 1960s because of the great features California had to offer. Theodore Wars in the Sand Dunes and Wildflowers. Wars has been considered one of the San Francisco's most important art teachers in the early 20th century. Known before California School Design and now San Francisco Art Institute, Wars served as dean in 1907 to 1913. California's art and cultural activities play a pivotal role in the shape of California's society. They are the most important shapers of the state's internationally renowned cultural industries. There are many movements of the California art that help shape the art of today. There was the art of the gold rush, which usually portrayed genre paintings of household and everyday life in California, reflecting the unique diversity and originality of California's culture, were most popular during these early times. The era of landscape paintings in the Yosemite Valley became the next big thing, while many California artists traveled through the lands. There were early artist movements in San Francisco, California Art Union, San Francisco Art Association, California School of Design, which then evolved into the modern-day San Francisco Art Institute. There are many European influences that have also shaped the course of California art. The Great Depression and the Bull also started this new era.